Hey there, Capricorn, and welcome to your November 2019 Creativity Tarot reading. My name is Kayleigh Jean, and welcome to my channel. While I was tuning into your energy for the month of November, I was given a couple of messages. The first impression that I actually saw for you, Cap, was very interesting, sort of intriguing. I'm not sure if this is very specific for someone out there, but I was seeing someone kind of going to a live concert of some sort, and it seemed kind of intimate. It didn't necessarily seem like a huge concert, but it was like a smaller, more intimate kind of venue, and there's just live music going on, and it just felt very transformative, like the whole experience. I don't know if it's going to ignite, if some of you are actually planning to go to some live music or something like that this month. I don't know if it's just that it's a very emotional experience for you for some reason, like maybe the music that's being played has some kind of sentimental significance for you, or you just feel very inspired by the music that's being played. If you have musical tendencies yourself, Capricorn, you might feel inspired by what you see and what you hear. If it's a metaphor, it feels to me like this really relates to this idea of gathering around like other people that have a similar sort of resonance or just a vibration that kind of matches yours. And this may, if I'm saying this metaphorically, it may refer to like making more time for that friend group that you have, Capricorn, that maybe you feel like you don't see them enough and you're just like, we need to get together. Like I always feel like our energies are raised whenever, all three of us or all four of us or our entire group is together. I think it's going to be important for you to make some time for that in November if you have been feeling like that's what you need. Because I feel like you could use a little R&R. Honestly, Capricorn, I feel like you've been working really hard. I don't know what's been going on for each of you personally, but the secondary message that I had coming through was really about kind of restoring and replenishing your energy and really just rejuvenating yourself in whatever way that you can. In whatever way that makes the most sense. And maybe that means for some of you taking off for a weekend or planning an impromptu trip. I also feel for some of you there could be like an international aspect to it, like maybe a bigger trip than your average kind of like trip across town or trip across your state that you live in. But it could also just mean giving yourself permission to kind of take more breaks during your work week, or giving yourself permission to say no to an obligation that you've been kind of keeping up with for all of the weeks prior. And, in November, you're like, you know what, I just need to take some time off from this to give yourself some extra time to, take care of yourself and maybe do some things that give you joy specifically. I feel overall there's a sense of needing to gather around people or just energies that really raise your vibration and sort of lift you up. So whatever you have to do to get yourself into that situation, Capricorn, where you just feel like you're really in harmony with your environment, this is your sort of permission slip, or you can use this reading as your validation to do that if you need to, because I feel like it's going to give you a lot of energy to go back to your normal life or back to, the other things that you have that are important to you. And you're going to be able to commit a lot more of yourself to them when you have kind of rejuvenated your own kind of emotional energies. So I hope that's helpful for someone out there. Let's take a look at your tarot cards. Give us clear guidance for Capricorn. I think that was it. Okay. I was seeing something about horses just now. So I'm not sure if you know somebody that has horses, or there's some kind of thematic connection with horses, or maybe being able to spend time around horses this month for some of you. But There's definitely that kind of feeling coming through. Capricorn. Okay. Now let's take a look at your Spirit Animal Oracle cards. We have Octopus and Crossed by the Phoenix. Wow, so this is deep. You guys, this is a really deep draw, and I think the octopus energy is very appropriate and accurate for what we have going right now astrologically, which this month we have Mercury in retrograde in Scorpio for the majority of November. Thankfully, he's not going to be making any hard aspects to anything, so it is actually going to be, I feel, a relatively peaceful Mercury retrograde as far as Mercury retrogrades go, especially when they're in Scorpio. But the good thing about this is that I feel like it's going to provide you with a safe space to kind of examine what you're really made of and what your deeper creative desires are at this time in your life. And you might actually be very surprised by some kind of an inclination or an impulse that you get this month in November, because the thing that's coming through when I look at the colors on the cranium of the octopus, it feels to me like, because this is the only colored part of this card, it takes the octopus sort of submerging into this, the deepest depths where this octopus is, like, you know, as it's positioned, it feels like it's gone really deep, and then it starts getting these lights happening around the head. And so that feels to me like there's a possibility this month that as you sort of allow yourself to go deeper, maybe deeper in your self-care or deeper in your relationship with yourself through journaling or dream work or meditation or shamanic journeying, anything that kind of gets you deeper into your soul, into the seat of your true self, that's going to actually bring in some surprising kind of little fireworks and sparks going off in terms of your creativity. And it's going to give you, I'm hearing like that there's this thing kind of that starts to pull you in November, but the catch is you kind of have to give yourself permission to withdraw from something else in your life or from an attitude that you take to your life. You have to withdraw and be willing to be flexible and pull back from that in order to hear this pulse. There's a new creative pulse coming in for you, Capricorn, and if you engage with yourself in silence, if you do some inner work this month for yourself, if you give yourself some time to just be in isolation or solitude, that really will kind of, with the intention, it really will kind of bring you into a greater state of equilibrium, and then you'll be able to sense that sort of creative pulse that's coming in. It's new. The influence is the Phoenix. So this is a card of really powerful transformation, and the energy of this card is seated in the root chakra, and the root chakra is sort of where our life force energy comes from, and it moves up through the second chakra. That's the first place that the root chakra energy goes to when it's sort of traveling up and circulating in our field. So it kind of, what I'm seeing with the colors ignited on the octopus and then the Phoenix energy showing this energy kind of rising within you, I feel like it's activating that second chakra, which is that point of creativity. It's that point of you having a deeper sense of what would give you like visceral joy, like joy that doesn't need to be explained in terms of anything else, doesn't require anything else, doesn't really think about the future or the past, but it's like real present moment appreciation and joy. And I feel like that's what this deeper transformation that you're going through right now is all about, Capricorn, is it's awakening some kind of, almost like the Kundalini energy for some of you. If you do work with Kundalini energy in yoga, you could be having some breakthroughs when it comes to this, because I feel like there's an ignition, there's like a spark of some element of your physical and spiritual energy this month, and it can be incredibly transformative. I see you kind of ascending as well with these cards, because the octopus is like down in the deep and then the Phoenix is kind of ascending. So there's something really beautiful about this month for you guys, and I'm excited to see what else comes through in your spread. Yep, we've got the Prince of Cups with the Ten of Wands, Ace of Swords, Ace of Pentacles, Four of Swords, Two of Pentacles, Seven of Pentacles, the King of Swords. Okay, so I'm just going to tune in here. Okay, so as we go into November, the story that's sort of developing in this narrative is that there is this expression of something that's immediately emotionally gratifying for you in the beginning of November. This prince is a prince that really kind of opens emotional doorways, and he's very expressive, and he can represent a movement in our lives toward a lifestyle that's more kind of, yeah, like viscerally emotionally satisfying, like something that you just feel is right for you, and that kind of gives you and generates within you the feelings that you want to have. So there's this a burst of inspiration with this card, or it could be like a gesture coming to you from someone around you, perhaps a water sign, perhaps not, but regardless, there could be a gesture, like a romantic gesture or an appreciative gesture, a gesture of goodwill and good faith coming towards you in the beginning of the month. But I also feel that, like, for the majority of you, this is like an internal inspiration, or like something that kind of causes you to have a deeper desire that, like we were talking about with the octopus, that maybe you weren't anticipating, but it's a result of you kind of having gone deeper with yourself, gone deep into a deeper relationship with your own psyche. And as a result, it seems like with the Ten of Wands, some elements of your life, some elements of the responsibilities that you've taken on, or some element of the obligations that you have at present, you know, in terms of your physical, practical life, some element of that is becoming overbearing very quickly, because now you have this you felt this free-flowing inspiration towards an idea, or you felt this kind of emotional satisfaction, but then you have the Ten of Wands. So it's a blessing, but it's also a challenge when you have this Prince of Cups, because it's like this, you know, outpouring of excitement, but then there's also a troubling aspect, because then, you know, you have to keep engaging with the mundane things that you have to keep doing for now, and those things feel like they're taking time away from this. So I can understand that, but I feel like you're going to be coming up with some new ideas this month in November that are going to potentially help you to get some momentum to take your life in a new direction. And this year and next year are incredibly intense for Capricorns. I have to say, you guys have had Pluto in your sign for, you know, a long time now, and you will have them until I think it's 2024. But you also have Saturn, and you're going to have Jupiter entering your sign. So, I mean, there are some intense charts for next year. I've been looking at some dates of 2020 already, and there are some really intense charts for Capricorns. And I feel like for many of you, this represents, like, this time period represents an incredibly fertile ground in which you can have new ideas and new inspirations that you are able to kind of put teeth to. You're able to kind of sink your teeth in right away, and maybe in ways that you couldn't have in the past, because you either were limited by circumstances, or maybe you had young kids that demanded a lot of your time and energy, but now you're starting to get that like sense of freedom back if you're a parent, because your kids are becoming more independent. Or it could be that you are finishing some kind of schooling or some kind of vast educational process, that then you're going to be able to shift out of like practice mode or study mode and into actually, you know, sharing mode and consulting mode, or doing the work that you're here to do in the world mode. So there's a lot of transformations going on for Capricorn specifically, you know, in 2020 as well. So this is a powerful time, and what I get is that by the middle of November, there are some really promising prospects coming into your life. Now, because these are just aces, they are not guarantees, but they are opportunities and they are prospects. So I would rather see lots of aces like we do see here than, other kinds of things that could present challenges later on in terms of inflexibility. I feel like right now for you, Capricorn, especially if you take a step back, one thing that you're going to probably start to realize about either where you're at right now in your life or where you're going in your life is that you actually have a lot more freedom than you typically let yourself feel. I'll say that one more time. You have a lot more freedom than you typically allow yourself to feel. Capricorns are an incredibly strong-willed, sign. You have this great ability to build and to set your mind to things and to focus. And you are, you're the goat, you're the climber, you're the mountain climber. Like, you can scale any, challenge that's in front of you. A Capricorn can scale it just by being persistent and by being organized. And you just have that strength. It's part of your natural gift. So one of the things that I like about seeing multiple aces coming up in your reading is that you have the most flexibility when you're at the beginning or like at the onset of a journey, right? Because once you are, knee deep in blueprints for building a house or whatever, and you have the foundation laid and half the walls are up, you're pretty much committed to, how you're going to fill in that space. And I feel like this is actually a really important time for you to kind of recognize that maybe there are some areas of your life where you are, further along, and you have to kind of accept the direction that things are already set in, and you can't necessarily change a lot. But there are some really important areas of your life that are totally not in that place, that are absolutely open. It's the frontier is wide open for you, Capricorn. You can play around with this. I mean, this is like cosmic Play-Doh here with the Ace of Pentacles and the Ace of Swords. You get to choose. You get to create. You are the creator. You're the potter here, Capricorn. And I really like to see this. So play around with some new opportunities. Be open to trying some new things. I wouldn't recommend signing any contracts or kind of locking in any hardcore sort of structure, because I feel like part of the joy for you right now is in being flexible. One of the things that we do see in the third week of November is the Two of Pentacles and the Four of Swords. So one thing that I feel with this, because the Two of Pentacles shows this girl juggling, and here she has the Ace of Swords and the Ace of Pentacles, this could be showing that in the third week of November, you're kind of bouncing around thinking about your options, and you may be feeling a little bit apathetic or a little bit confused as to like what to choose, or maybe neither of them are standing out to you as, maybe they both hold elements of something that you want to do or something that you want to put effort into, but at the same time there's something missing from both of them. So what I want to say here is like, that's where the importance of that message of not rushing in to kind of make a contractually binding agreement, especially during Mercury retrograde, or, laying out this laboriously long kind of strategy for how you want to move forward. You're probably going to change things along the way anyway. And I feel like even by the third week of November, it's possible that you're feeling kind of discontent about like the options in front of you. But the message here is to not allow yourself to become complacent or bored with anything, because actually the ability that you have right now to change and to change your mind and to switch things around is a gift. Like I said before, Capricorns are incredibly strategic and incredibly strong-willed, generally speaking, and one of the more difficult things that maybe you have to remind yourself to do, Capricorn, is to be playful with your life. You can be so purposeful in every action that we can forget that sometimes the purpose behind an action is totally fine to just be like, I just want to have fun, And so I think if you're in that place where you have the opportunity to just kind of have fun with something or have a chapter of your life, maybe even just temporarily, Capricorn, where you are just playing around with it and exploring options and not being so attached to outcomes, but just allowing yourself to really be present with the game, be present with the thrill of it, be present with the growth and the excitement of it, and not needing to be so results oriented. Because I think if you try and take this period too seriously, you're gonna feel like this guy. You know? So I hope that makes sense. What we have at the end of the month, as the sun moves into Sagittarius on the 22nd, Mercury will be going direct on the 20th. So I feel like these cards are sort of representing the flow or the change of energy for you at that point. And I do see that looking at the King of Swords and the Seven of Pentacles, some of you could be making some decisions at the end of the month and taking some decisive action. With the Seven of Pentacles, there's a sense with this guy, he's harvesting the mistletoe, which is a very healing herb, and it has a lot of different uses. It also has a lot of mythic properties as well, and there's something kind of, for me, when I think of mistletoe, there's something binding to it. There's something that has to do with agreements. There's something that has to do with, as well, like playfulness and flirtation. So for some of you, there could be something going on at the end of the month where you are consciously making some kind of a decision. And I don't necessarily know that I see it in terms of your romantic life, because this is Pentacles and the King of Swords. So these strike me as more like self-employed type of cards, or more kind of businessy professional life cards. But for some of you, if your relationship has become sort of transactional, and I'm just being really raw and honest about it, but if you feel like your relationship with either like a suitor or a spouse or a girlfriend, boyfriend, or even a friend has sort of become transactional, and not as much feeling oriented, or not as much kind of passionate or exciting, it could be that you're making the decision to change either the way that you view that relationship. Like you might think, okay, well, maybe if this is a transactional relationship, then that's just how I'm going to view it. You might be feeling differently, or you might be choosing to behave differently in regards to that relationship, especially if you're feeling used at all, or if you're feeling like you need to have stronger boundaries for yourself. Whatever it is, Capricorn, if this is coming up for you at the end of the month, I think the word communication is sort of coming through, and it's really about, it could be that the solution to the issue is literally just a conversation away. So don't discount the power of just having an honest and open conversation with someone, especially if you get the intuitive sense that they would be willing to work with you on it. I feel like this is a time in which pragmatism and honesty, with the King of Swords, of course, and strategy. You know, sometimes we can get this feeling or this suspicion that people who are strategic in their communication might be lying to us, or they might be, we can feel kind of icky if we rehearse things, you know, beforehand, because we feel like, oh, we need to just be authentic, or we just need to be raw and open. But actually, when we see the Seven of Pentacles and the King of Swords, this shows that, at least at the end of the month, you'd be really benefited actually by like being strategic about how you communicate in whatever relationship this is in reference to. If it's a business partnership, for example, I think it's always a good idea to really think about what you are going to say before you say it, and have maybe some points that you can back up with some historical examples, you know, from the company, or from your relationship with your friend, or your relationship with your spouse. Have some examples that sort of back up kind of why you feel the way that you do, and why you're making the judgment call that you're making. But ultimately, the message is to be strong, Capricorn. The message is to be firm, be honest, be truthful, be firm, and you will be able to harvest what you need from this encounter. So let's take a look at your oracle card for the month. This is just your guidance. Ooh. So we have purpose. This was the only one that kind of jumped out upright, and the other two, or there's three here that are turned, their backs are turned. So I'm just gonna see if anything else wants to come through with this purpose card. Oh, and there's treat yourself. That makes sense actually from what came through in the meditation. So treat yourself. Treat yourself to some time alone if that's what would make you feel the best, Capricorn, or maybe a trip, or time to just be creative, a self-care treat perhaps as well. Yeah, that's kind of what I'm seeing. Now I want to get a message on this purpose. Okay, we have energy. So this month, your energy is going to be renewed when you feel a sense of purpose with what you're doing. And one way that you can kind of guarantee that you experience this benefit, Capricorn, is before you go into any kind of social situation or professional situation, or even before you just change activities this month. If you can remember to do this, it will be so powerful. First of all, at the end of every activity that you do or every important conversation that you have, you can just spend a few moments with yourself, closing your eyes, taking a few deep breaths, and just releasing the energy of whatever you just did. And I'm talking like you can do this multiple times throughout the day. Just whenever you're done doing a task, release it from your physical body. Like in your mind's eye, see any tension that built up during the course of it, any fatigue, feel any kind of stress that has built up, feel all of that just being washed away. And just take 5 breaths, feeling yourself being cleansed, feeling yourself releasing that activity. And then before you go to do your next activity, take a moment to yourself again and get in touch with what your purpose is for that task. So if it's a conversation with someone in your family, maybe your intention is to make sure that they feel loved and supported. So you could just remind yourself, I really want my spouse or my son or daughter to feel supported by me in this conversation. And just, you don't have to make a plan necessarily for how, but just having that clarity and that thought to yourself. Maybe think it 3 times or say it to yourself 3 times. Like, I just want my spouse to feel loved and supported in this conversation. I want my spouse to feel loved and supported in this conversation. And say it one more time. And then you'll be amazed at how clear you feel and how ready you are to open up and communicate, and how you actually do accomplish your intention a lot easier, sometimes without even really consciously needing to think about it. Just the fact that you're setting your sights on it beforehand means that you're going to hit the mark a lot more closely than you would have if you just sort of spun into the next conversation and then like slammed out of that and just went on to the next thing and sort of just crushing it. You know, you're getting everything done, you're doing everything you have to do, but you're doing it in a way where you're sort of building tension throughout the day and you're not releasing, you know, the last activity. So you still have other things on your mind when you go to the next activity. And it just ends up kind of being less than what you could normally accomplish under better circumstances, you know, internally. So that's what we're seeing for you, Capricorn. I feel like this is actually going to be a really beautiful month for you. I encourage you to get some rest and take a break at some point in November. I think maybe even if you can do that multiple times throughout November, I think you'll be doing really good for yourself. And then, you know, as we go deeper into the next month, and we'll have the sun going into your sign on the solstice, so that's going to be really exciting. You're going to have a lot of energy coming up, so kind of rest up and get connected to what your purpose is in each interaction that you have. Be really strategic, but also remember to treat yourself, and I feel like you're going to have an amazing month. Thank you, Capricorn, for watching. I am so honored that you watched this video, and if you're still with me, why don't you go ahead and leave me a little Capricorn emoji down below if you have the zodiac sign for Capricorn, the symbol, or maybe a little goat or something, like a ram. If you, whatever kind of Capricorn emojis you have, leave them below. I'm really curious to find out how many people are still with me at the end of this video. Also, if you feel called, I would absolutely love to hear from you in the comments about how this reading may or may not have connected to your life. I really hope that it has given you something helpful at least, and if you did get something helpful from this reading, please go ahead and give this video a thumbs up, subscribe to my channel, and subscribe to notifications. All of these things really help support the time and effort that I put into these readings every single month, and it really motivates me, honestly, and makes me so much more enthusiastic and excited to do these readings, because when I hear from you guys about how things are going and, you know, what kind of random synchronistic messages are connecting between us, like spiritually, it gives me such a sense of awe, honestly, every month to hear from you guys. And you are particularly active on here. I notice Capricorns, Scorpios, and Pisces are often some of the most engaging, like, sweet comments. So thank you so much for letting me know your thoughts. And I just want to say too, like, if you would like to book a personal reading with me, I'll put that information below as well. If you'd like to donate to support my channel, I'll put the information below as well, because I will be doing the 2020 forecasts next month, which is going to be pretty intense for me. It's going to add a lot of time to my schedule. So if you feel called to support me, because I will be putting all those readings out for free, if you want to support and help me to get through that and to support the energy that I put into them, I'll put the link to donate to my channel. You can donate as little as $1, and that would be freaking amazing. Honestly, it will be so great. And it just shows as well that you get something useful. So thank you so much. And I am just so honored that you're here. Thank you for being here on my channel. I hope you have an amazing month in November. Mwah, Capricorn, I love you, and I will talk to you next time. Bye.